At first, it looked like a perfect life built on wealth krumstern, until this house became a crime scene. They paid $200,000 for a dream that would quietly turn into a nightmare. One signature was all it took to change everything.
The danger didn't arrive violently, it blended into their daily routine.
While they slept, the cameras were watching, but the truth was already being erased.
By morning, the house was silent, and 2 lives were already lost.
What looked natural wasn't. Science exposed a carefully planned death.
In the end, money bought comfort, but it also invited betrayal.
Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, The Silent Witness. Here, we share crime stories, mysteries, and haunting real-life cases.
If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you won't miss the next part of these stories or our upcoming new videos.
Dubai is a city where silence often carries more weight than noise. Behind the glittering skyline and endless lights, there are places designed not just for comfort, but for concealment. This villa stood as one of them. Built to keep the outside world away, it promised privacy, protection, and control. To anyone passing by, it was simply another symbol of success. But inside these walls, decisions had already been made that would never be reversed. What began here was not an accident, not a moment of weakness, but the final chapter of a story written months earlier. A story driven by trust, ambition, and a desire so powerful that it blinded 2 people to the danger quietly surrounding them. On this night, nothing appeared wrong, no alarms, no warnings, just calm, and sometimes calm is the most dangerous sign of all. Adam Al-Fayed had built his empire on structure and certainty. Every deal followed logic, every risk was calculated. He believed control was the highest form of security. To the world, Adam was untouchable, a man who turned ambition into wealth and discipline into power. But behind the success lived a quiet fear he never spoke about, a fear that his life, despite everything he owned, would leave nothing behind. No continuation, no future. For Adam, legacy mattered more than comfort, more than reputation. And when medicine failed to give him certainty, he began searching elsewhere. That search would place his trust in systems he did not fully understand, systems that did not care about love, only outcomes. Lena lived in a world Adam could never fully enter, a world shaped by longing. Years of failed treatments had turned hope into something fragile. Each disappointment left a scar she carried quietly. She did not want power or status. She wanted purpose. A child to fill the silence that success could not erase. Her trust came easily when promises were wrapped in professionalism and empathy. She believed solutions existed if you searched hard enough. And when the opportunity finally appeared, she embraced it without hesitation. What Lena did not see was how desperation can distort judgment, how love can be manipulated, and how the promise of happiness can become the most effective weapon of all. The clinic did not sell miracles, it sold certainty, discretion backed by contracts. Solutions supported by legal guarantees. Adam and Lena were presented with documents that promised clarity where medicine had failed. Every signature felt like progress, every clause sounded protective, but beneath the polished language were mechanisms designed for control, trusts, contingencies, automatic transfers of authority. These were not medical safeguards, they were legal triggers. What the couple believed was protection was, in reality, preparation. And once those documents were signed, the process no longer belonged to them. Paper rarely looks dangerous, it feels harmless, organized, professional. Adam trusted contracts more than people. He believed documents could protect what emotions could not, but buried inside the fine print were clauses designed to activate during crisis. Clauses that transferred power silently without oversight. Once triggered, they did not ask questions. They did not wait for investigations. They simply executed instructions. These documents were not written to protect life, they were written to control outcomes, and by signing them, Adam and Lena unknowingly financed a system that would outlive them and profit from their absence. The consultant spoke with confidence that felt rehearsed, not learned. He did not sell hope, he sold certainty. His explanations were smooth, technical, and carefully limited. Risks were acknowledged but minimized. Safeguards were emphasized repeatedly. To Adam, this sounded like professionalism. To Lena, it sounded like reassurance. What neither of them realized was that the consultant was not focused on their future, but on the efficiency of the process. Every answer redirected attention away from uncertainty and toward paperwork. The more questions they asked, the more documents appeared. Each document reduced their role slightly, shifting responsibility elsewhere. This was not guidance, it was transition. By the end of the meeting, decisions no longer felt like choices. They felt inevitable, and inevitability is dangerous because it removes resistance. When Adam and Lena left that room, they believed they were moving closer to becoming parents. In reality, they had just stepped out of the last space where control still belonged to them. The surrogate lived far from luxury. Her world was defined by limitations, financial, social, and legal. The contract promised stability but delivered constant surveillance. Instructions arrived digitally. Questions were discouraged, silence was rewarded. She was reminded repeatedly that she was replaceable. That compliance ensured safety. That resistance carried consequences. She was never told the full story. She was never allowed to see the system she was part of. Her role was narrowed to function, stripped of context and choice. When doubts surfaced, they were buried beneath fear of breach clauses and financial penalties. The system did not need her trust, it only needed her obedience. And as the process advanced, her importance diminished further. She was becoming invisible, exactly as intended. The final evening unfolded without warning signs. Adam reviewed messages, his attention divided between business and logistics. Lena sat quietly, her thoughts fixed on the future she believed was finally within reach. The villa felt unusually calm, as if holding its breath. No arguments, no tension, just routine, but routine can be deceptive. It disguises danger by making everything feel normal. What neither of them understood was that the most critical decisions had already been made, not by them, but for them. The process was no longer waiting for consent, it was waiting for timing, and timing, unlike morality, is precise. Nothing about the night felt unusual, that was the design. The substances introduced into Adam and Lena's system were chosen with precision, tasteless, colorless, and slow-acting. They were not meant to cause panic or pain. They were meant to confuse the body quietly, allowing symptoms to appear gradually, just enough to mimic a natural medical event. Whoever planned this understood medicine, chemistry, and timing. Too fast would raise suspicion, too slow would risk intervention. This balance was deliberate. By the time their bodies reacted, the damage would already be irreversible. There were no forced movements, no signs of struggle, no reason for alarms to be triggered. Trust did the work that violence never had to. In crimes like this, the absence of chaos is the most important detail. It is not the presence of harm that defines intention, it is the careful removal of resistance. That night, Adam and Lena believed they were safe inside their own home. They did not realize that safety had already been negotiated away, one signature at a time. Morning arrived without urgency. No alarms sounded, no emergency calls were made. Inside the villa, time had stopped completely. What authorities would later describe as simultaneous medical failure was in reality the final stage of a carefully executed process. Adam's heart had been pushed beyond recovery. Lena's breathing had slowed until it simply did not return. There were no defensive injuries. No broken objects, no visible signs of distress. To an untrained eye, it looked like tragedy. To investigators, it felt unnatural. Healthy adults do not die together without explanation, especially not in silence, especially not inside a home designed for protection. This stillness was not accidental, it was engineered, and it would take science, not emotion, to uncover what truly happened in this room. Dubai police approached the scene with restraint. There were no sirens, no crowds, no urgency designed for spectacle. High-profile deaths required precision, not noise. The villa was secured and treated as a potential crime scene from the first moment. Every entry was logged, every surface photographed. Investigators immediately noted what was missing: signs of intrusion, evidence of struggle, indications of robbery. The security system showed no breach, the doors were locked, the cameras revealed nothing unusual, but absence can be evidence too. Experienced investigators know that when everything appears perfect, something is usually wrong. As the villa was examined room by room, a quiet realization began to take shape. Whatever happened here did not rely on force, it relied on access, and access only comes from trust. The forensic examination revealed what no initial observation could capture. Adam and Lena showed no external injuries, their bodies appeared perfectly still, serene even. Yet beneath the surface, the truth was far more complex and chilling. Toxicology reports indicated a precise combination of sedatives and cardiac suppressants, substances carefully measured to produce fatal results over hours, not minutes. Alone, each chemical could have been harmless. Together, however, they were lethal. The pattern of ingestion was deliberate, calculated to ensure minimal resistance, minimal suspicion, and maximal efficiency. Investigators quickly realized this was not a crime of passion or accident. There was no forced ingestion, no struggle, no external tampering. Whoever orchestrated this understood human physiology and timing better than most physicians. The villa itself had acted as a controlled environment, the perfect laboratory, doors locked, cameras neutralized, meals untouched, everything aligned to create the illusion of natural death. In crimes of this sophistication, science becomes the silent witness. It records what cannot be lied about. Every molecule, every trace, every chemical reaction told the story the perpetrators tried to hide. And for the investigators, it was clear this death was engineered, not sudden, not emotional, planned, precise, and terrifyingly efficient. The digital footprint was subtle yet revealing. Security cameras showed no forced entry, no suspicious visitors. The logs indicated that the villa's network had been accessed remotely after midnight. Someone with credentials, not an intruder, had manipulated systems while the residents were asleep. Encrypted admin activity pointed to careful planning, not improvisation. Metadata from deleted files suggested alterations to legal documents, changes executed after Adam and Lena had already been incapacitated. Trust, it seemed, had been weaponized. The investigators began piecing together a timeline of quiet operations. Surveillance neutralized, security routines maintained, meals untouched, rooms undisturbed. Every action aimed to make the deaths appear natural, unremarkable, unquestionable. It was a pattern of digital stealth and bureaucratic precision. Whoever orchestrated this was not just technically competent, they were a master of human assumptions. They understood how systems, law, and perception could work together to eliminate targets without leaving obvious evidence. And as analysts continued to trace IP addresses, access patterns, and time-stamped activity, the terrifying realization emerged. Adam and Lena's death had been fully anticipated. Every precaution, every signature, every document they had trusted was part of a machine designed to end their lives quietly, a machine built from their own faith in systems and professionals. Morning arrived in the villa like any other, yet beneath the calm, the orchestrated truth was taking its final form. Adam and Lena remained unaware that every aspect of their environment had been manipulated to ensure control, to eliminate resistance, and to disguise intention. Meals were prepared and placed with precision, untouched but present, creating the illusion of normalcy. The lighting, soft and familiar, gave no hint of the danger that had already begun its work. The beds, meticulously made, reflected an image of order, masking the chaos silently unfolding within their bodies. The substances introduced into their systems were measured for subtlety, designed to mimic natural complications, to evade suspicion, to render intervention impossible. Time, that invisible observer, became the silent accomplice. Their trust in each other, in the systems surrounding them, and in the professionals who promised assistance had been weaponized. By the time their physiology began reacting, the design was complete. No struggle, no alarm, no evidence of malice beyond the inevitable. In this house, constructed for protection, privacy, and comfort, the ultimate betrayal had been executed flawlessly. Every room, every object, every detail played its role in a story that transformed safety into vulnerability. The villa, a silent witness itself, absorbed the act of precision and quiet cruelty, standing as a testament to the terrifying efficiency of calculated trust. And as the first light of day touched the marble, the plan's horrifying completeness became unavoidable. Death had arrived silently, methodically, and without warning. By the time the forensic teams arrived, the villa had already become a staged environment. The police knew from experience that appearances could be deceiving. The front doors were locked, security cameras had recorded nothing unusual, and the immediate neighborhood offered no witnesses. Yet investigators recognized subtle anomalies, doors slightly ajar in unexpected ways, faint disturbances in dust patterns, traces of items out of place. Every movement of the forensic officers was deliberate. Every photograph, every note, every measured step was intended to preserve the delicate balance between evidence and environment. The villa itself was a puzzle, an intricate system designed to mislead. Forensic specialists carefully documented what the eye might overlook, knowing that in cases of this sophistication, even the smallest detail could unravel the entire narrative. Patterns began emerging: absence of intrusion, synchronized administration of substances, deliberate timing of meals and routines. The deeper investigators delved, the clearer it became that this was not a crime of opportunity. It was a crime of planning, precision, and intimate knowledge of the victim's behaviors. Every decision made by the perpetrators had been calculated to create the illusion of normalcy. The villa, in its perfection and silence, had become both weapon and witness. And as the teams cataloged every surface, every corner, and every trace, the terrifying truth began to crystallize. The deaths were not accidental, they were engineered, leaving investigators to chase the meticulous shadow of unseen hands. The living room, at first glance, looked ordinary, untouched by tragedy. Expensive furnishings gleamed under the filtered afternoon light, carpets pristine and every detail meticulously arranged. Yet the scattered documents told a different story. The legal contracts, financial transfers, and medical papers bore silent witness to the meticulous orchestration of events that had unfolded. Adam and Lena had trusted their environment, their advisors, and the very systems designed to protect them. This trust became the mechanism through which their lives were manipulated. Forensic specialists began piecing together minute details, fingerprints on pens, subtle smudges on paper, the order of documents that suggested deliberate intervention in timing and administration of substances. It became clear that someone had operated with precise knowledge of the couple's habits, their schedules, and their vulnerabilities. The living room, a symbol of wealth and comfort, was now an extension of the plan, an arena where control was silently exerted. Investigators realized that every item, every light, and every shadow had a role in the deadly choreography. By creating a space that felt safe, the perpetrators ensured that the couple would not suspect harm until it was too late. And as the team documented the scene, the unsettling truth became unavoidable. Luxury had been weaponized, and the villa itself was an accomplice in the quiet execution of calculated death. The digital dimension revealed layers of planning that the physical scene could not. Security cameras designed to protect had been manipulated in ways subtle enough to avoid immediate detection. Analysts discovered that feeds had been looped during critical hours, creating the illusion of normalcy while movements within the villa proceeded as planned. Motion sensors had been temporarily disabled, yet no alarm was triggered. Logs of network activity indicated unauthorized administrative access, executed remotely by someone with intimate knowledge of the villa's systems. This was not hacking by chance. It was intrusion by design, precise and deliberate, with timing synchronized to the couple's routines. Every digital maneuver ensured that Adam and Lena would remain unaware of danger until the effects of the administered substances began taking hold. The investigators began mapping the digital footprint, cross-referencing IP addresses, access points, and timestamps, revealing a meticulous orchestration that spanned weeks. The technology meant to safeguard became a tool of control. Through screens, logs, and metadata, the perpetrator's intent emerged, a death engineered for precision, invisibility, and ultimate efficiency. The villa's digital heartbeat, once a sign of security, was now the silent witness to betrayal. The lab was where the invisible became undeniable. Toxicologists meticulously examined every sample taken from the villa, each vial telling a story of calculated intent. The combination of sedatives and cardiac agents was not haphazard. It was a precisely engineered formula designed to mimic natural medical complications. Each reaction, each trace compound spoke of forethought and knowledge of human physiology. Investigators learned that timing was crucial. Too early or too late would compromise the plan. The perpetrators had accounted for metabolism, dosage, and absorption rates to ensure inevitability. By the time symptoms emerged, intervention was impossible. The chemicals, silent and invisible, had become instruments of execution, orchestrated in a home that seemed perfectly safe. This laboratory confirmation shifted the case from speculation to undeniable fact. The deaths were deliberate, engineered with scientific sophistication, and intended to leave the couple seemingly unharmed until it was far too late. Every analysis, every reading, and every measurement confirmed a chilling pattern of premeditation, control, and the terrifying manipulation of trust and environment. Science, not eyewitnesses, became the voice of truth. The private study was a repository of both wealth and vulnerability. Financial spreadsheets, signed contracts, and sensitive documents lay scattered across the polished mahogany desk, each representing a step in a meticulously structured life. Adam had relied on this room as both sanctuary and command center, where every decision was measured, logged, and executed with precision. Lena, too, spent time here, reviewing medical records and correspondence related to their surrogacy arrangements, trusting the system that promised discretion and success. Yet investigators recognized the subtle anomalies. Certain documents appeared manipulated, timestamps on digital files conflicted with expected sequences, and handwritten notes suggested interventions at times when neither Adam nor Lena should have been present. Every detail revealed a layer of orchestration. Someone with intimate knowledge of their habits, schedules, and vulnerabilities had engineered outcomes that turned trust into a weapon. The room intended for planning and control became a stage for silent deception. Traces of chemical residues were detected on items previously thought mundane, suggesting indirect contact. The investigators realized that the villa was not merely a backdrop. It was an active participant designed to channel their routines toward fatal outcomes without raising suspicion. What had appeared to be normalcy, precision, order, attention to detail now revealed itself as a framework of calculated betrayal. Each paper, each digital file, and every object in the study was a fragment of a larger puzzle, meticulously assembled to ensure the couple's fate silently and efficiently. By the time anyone would suspect, it would already be too late. The kitchen, usually a place of nourishment and family interaction, became an unassuming witness to silent orchestration. Investigators noted that every item had been strategically placed, wine bottles aligned perfectly, utensils untouched, surfaces subtly marked by fingerprints that suggested deliberate interactions rather than casual use. Meals prepared in advance were precisely timed, designed to allow the gradual ingestion of substances without suspicion. Every appliance and countertop, every cabinet and glass, contributed to the illusion of routine, while simultaneously enabling a meticulously plotted sequence of chemical administration. Adam and Lena moved through this space unaware of the invisible mechanisms at work. Timing was everything. Substances delivered in coffee, water, or small bites ensured that physiological effects would be gradual, almost imperceptible. The perpetrators relied on patterns of normal human behavior, breakfast routines, evening rituals, casual touches of objects. By exploiting these habits, they orchestrated the ultimate betrayal, an environment where trust became lethal. Even the shadows themselves seemed complicit, elongating and hiding subtle evidence. The investigators documented each nuance, realizing that every detail in the kitchen, down to the angle of light and position of utensils, had been manipulated to facilitate precise, unnoticeable harm. The domestic heart of the villa, intended for comfort and routine, had been weaponized with terrifying efficiency. And in this room, the silent narrative of deception continued, leaving nothing to chance and nothing to witnesses. The security system, designed to be the ultimate safeguard for the villa's residents, had quietly become part of the orchestrated plan. Each camera, each motion sensor, each timestamp log was manipulated with extraordinary precision. Remote access had been achieved using credentials that suggested intimate familiarity with the household routines. Analysts noticed subtle inconsistencies, brief loops in camera footage, delayed motion alerts, and encrypted admin activity occurring at times when Adam and Lena were asleep. It became evident that the perpetrators had studied the couple's habits, knowing exactly when and how interventions could occur without detection. The villa's security, which had been a symbol of protection and control, was weaponized, turning technology into a silent accomplice. Every interaction, every subtle tweak, every digitally erased trace was calculated to create an illusion of normalcy. By the time the physiological effects of the substances took hold, the environment had already been engineered to prevent intervention. Investigators recognized a disturbing pattern. The perpetrators understood that the most powerful crimes are not committed with violence, but with manipulation of trust, timing, and technology. The villa itself, with its screens and sensors, had become a participant in a meticulously orchestrated betrayal. The security system, intended to preserve life and safety, instead bore witness to premeditation, control, and cold, calculated execution. Every digital pulse, every minor anomaly, told a story that physical evidence alone could not. The investigation revealed that Adam and Lena's trust in technology had been turned into the instrument of their own demise, leaving behind only the silent testimony of machines and the shadows they recorded. The laboratory became the stage where the invisible truth revealed itself. Samples taken from meals, water, and medications consumed by Adam and Lena were subjected to meticulous analysis. Every compound was measured, every reaction recorded, every anomaly investigated. The toxicologists discovered a sophisticated combination of sedatives and cardiac suppressants, carefully dosed to act in concert. The effects were gradual, almost imperceptible, designed to mimic natural physiological decline while ensuring irreversibility. Investigators began to understand the science behind the method. Dosage calculated to metabolic rates, timing synchronized with daily routines, and substances delivered in forms that would not alert taste or smell. Each chemical acted as a component of a lethal equation. The perpetrators relied on knowledge of human biology, circadian rhythms, and subtle environmental cues to execute the plan flawlessly. This was not a crime of impulse. It was methodical, calculated, and precise. The villa, the meals, the water, and the legal documents all became instruments in a complex orchestration of betrayal. For the investigators, science provided clarity where appearances were deceptive. Every measurement confirmed a chilling conclusion. Adam and Lena's deaths had been engineered to appear natural while leaving virtually no obvious evidence. Trust had been weaponized, knowledge had been exploited, and the investigation revealed the terrifying efficiency of premeditated crime executed with surgical precision. The entrance, often considered the first line of defense, revealed the first hints of subtle orchestration. Forensic specialists observed minimal dust disturbances, almost imperceptible but consistent with deliberate, controlled movement. Fingerprints were present on key surfaces but suggested no forced entry. Investigators concluded that the perpetrators had either had prior access or exploited existing trust. The villa's doors, windows, and locks had been carefully manipulated, calibrated to allow intervention without triggering alarms or alerting the residents. Even the slightest misalignment of a latch could have raised suspicion, yet everything had been meticulously adjusted. The team noted that the minimal anomalies required expert knowledge of the home's layout, security systems, and resident routines. Every detail revealed the patience and foresight behind the act. What appeared to be an ordinary, secure villa had become a stage for calculated deception. The entrance, a symbol of protection, had been neutralized quietly without detection. Investigators realized that the crime was not defined by violence but by timing, trust, and precision. The perpetrators had turned familiarity into weaponry. The doors bore silent testimony, access was granted, control had been seized, and the carefully planned betrayal had reached its execution phase. Night fell over the villa as forensic teams continued their methodical examination. Every corner, every surface, every object was photographed, cataloged, and measured. The investigators understood that in crimes of this sophistication, even the smallest detail could unravel the narrative constructed by the perpetrators. Marble floors reflected shadows that were carefully analyzed for anomalies. Exterior walls, gardens, and security perimeters were examined for signs of tampering or unusual patterns. Every step was deliberate, ensuring that the scene's integrity remained intact. The investigation revealed a chilling reality. This was a crime executed with surgical precision, designed to appear as natural, accidental, or unexplained deaths. Timing, trust, and environmental manipulation had been exploited to eliminate resistance before any intervention could occur. The villa, a symbol of wealth, comfort, and security, had silently borne witness to the meticulous orchestration. Investigators recognized the interplay of science, strategy, and manipulation that had enabled the perpetrators to achieve their goals. Each discovery reinforced a terrifying truth. Adam and Lena's deaths were not the result of chance, error, or misfortune. They were the product of planning, control, and an understanding of human behavior that turned normal routines into instruments of demise. As dawn broke over the villa, the city awoke to the unsettling silence surrounding this luxurious residence. The forensic teams had completed their meticulous documentation, leaving behind traces of human observation but no alteration to the scene itself. The villa stood like a silent witness, its marble floors, glass walls, and meticulously arranged interiors having borne witness to a crime so calculated it defied instinctive understanding. Adam and Lena's lives, once intertwined with wealth, love, and hope, had been extinguished with precision, method, and cold foresight. Every step, every system, every document they had trusted had been manipulated to serve the perpetrator's design. Investigators left with a chilling awareness. This was not the culmination of chaos, but the apex of control. The sunrise cast long shadows, symbolic of the secrets, betrayal, and unseen hands that had orchestrated their demise. The villa, beautiful and silent, had been transformed from a haven into a stage for calculated execution. In the aftermath, the lesson remained stark. Trust, when weaponized, can become more lethal than any force, and environments built for protection can be turned into instruments of destruction. Justice would follow, but the villa would remain, a testament to the terrifying efficiency of premeditated crime.